Okay, fantastic. So welcome everybody to today's training session, which is how to trade on MetaTrader 5, presented by myself, Phil Carr, at the Gold and Silver Club. So during today's session, we will be going through tips on how to use binary MT5 platform, how to set up your charts and your indicators. We'll go through live market analysis. We'll also go through a watch list of trade ideas. And of course, as always, we'll be answering questions during today's session. So before we get into it, let me just introduce you to the Gold and Silver Club. The Gold and Silver Club is regarded as the go-to authority on commodities trading. As internationally respected experts, our analysis and our opinions on the metals, the energies, and the commodity currencies, they're routinely sought by major financial television channels and publications, which includes Bloomberg, Reuters, CNBC, the Financial Times, the Wall Street Journal. Over the last 10 years, myself and my team of experts, we've trained and mentored thousands of private traders from all over the world on our exclusive research-driven strategies. So for further information on our services, just go to www.jointhelivetradingroom.com. Also, we have put out a fresh midweek report as well as the forecast for the week ahead. We put out earlier on in the week. So if you haven't already done so, make sure you're subscribed to the Gold and Silver Club on YouTube. We're putting out 2 videos a week. One is the midweek report and the other is, of course, for the week ahead, the commodity report. So again, if you haven't done so already, just make sure on YouTube, search for the Gold and Silver Club and make sure you hit that alarm button when you're subbed so that you get notified, so you don't tend to miss out on any of the updates and notifications. Okay, great stuff. So with that, today's session, of course, is dedicated to trading on the MetaTrader 5 platform. I'll go through our favorite technical indicators that we tend to like on MetaTrader 5, and also just how to set up your chart. So if you're new to MT5, or even if you use MT5 already, I think this will be useful just to show you how we use it at the Gold and Silver Club, and I'll show you exactly how I would build a short list and how I build profiles as well on the platform. So with that, I'll share my screen. So we'll just bring it over and have a look here at MetaTrader 5. You should be able to see that at the moment. So just a quick check-in. You can see that okay on my screen. Yeah, perfect. Great stuff. Thanks, Reese. So with that, where we are at the moment, this is what you will normally see when you've downloaded the MetaTrader 5 platform. So you are presented with the gray grid lines. You've got the green bar charts there, and you just want to clean that up a bit. So you want to improve. In fact, you should normally have 4 charts when you initially download it. If you want to make any modifications, number one, you'll have the market watch, which will normally be on the left hand side. Obviously you can keep it there if you prefer that. I tend to prefer just having my market watch on the right here. So I just move it to the right just to make it easier to move between the different markets that we are monitoring. And from there, what I will do is I will take each chart and I'll just drag it from the right and bring it into the center in order to do some analysis on that market. So right and through to the center, right and through to the center there, so I can keep going between the different markets. So we'll start off in the Australian dollar. Now, what you'll often get, I'll just minimize this. I can minimize the chart, and in actual fact, if I just want to bring out other charts as well, I can just bring those over. So I'm dragging them from my market watch into the main screen. Now, if you right click, you can go to show all to build up more markets, or very simply, you can type in the market that you might be interested in. So for example, let's look at maybe Euro, NZD, any market you just type in there, you're going to click on the relevant market, and then that will get added. You click on the plus sign, that will get just added to the markets that you might be interested in monitoring there or trading. So I've got the majors here at the moment: Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar, the euro, US dollar, Swiss franc, US dollar, Japanese yen, pound, US dollar, and so forth. So we're going to work within those templates, and normally you've got 3 or 4 charts which automatically generate when you build up the platform. So I've got 3 charts here for Australian dollar. What I want to set up is I'm going to have them side by side. One where I've got it higher time frame, they're going to then drop into lower time frame. So I'll go to window, tile vertically, and then from here I've got my 3 charts. One at the top here, you can see they're all in H1 at the moment, which is the hourly time frame. I actually want to be in a higher time frame than that. So I'm going to go on Australian dollar on the top left hand side. I'll go to MN, which is monthly. On the center, I'm going to put it into the weekly, and on the right here, I'll put it into the daily chart. Okay, so then I'm able just to have a look at price action from high to low. Okay, so I'm able to take a top down approach with my analysis. Now, at the moment, still the charts could be more optimal, okay, in terms of visuals here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to right click, I'll go to properties, and I'm going to just make these a bit cleaner. So background, keep it as black, foreground white. Grid, I don't really want a grid, so I'll take that off. Bar up, leave it as line. Bar down, I will take that and just put it as red. Bull candle, I'm going to put that as lime. Bear candle, I will put as red. Line chart, I will put, well, I don't really need the line chart. I'll put it as none. Volume, leave it as is. Bid price, that can all stay as is. So I've done that, and you can see already my chart there is getting cleaned up. I'm just going to go over to the candlesticks there, and you can see at the moment where essentially I put candlesticks on my charts, and very simply we can see we've got a much cleaner chart which is in development now. So I'm going to right click, I will go here to template, save the template, and I'm going to just overlay that. So of course 17th of April today, we'll just overlay this template. I'm going to save that as a template that I can come back to. So here we've just saved that template. I'm going to go over to the monthly chart template, and I'm going to also overlay the template I've just saved, the April template again here, excuse me, and I'm just going to again put that over on my chart. So I've essentially loaded up the template, which is a raw template, which we've got here, which is essentially, it is going to be candlesticks, and we've made it just quite visually straightforward for a bullish candle to be green, a bearish candle to be red. So we've got the monthly chart. So if we're having a look at the Australian dollar, you'll note we've broken above the previous month's high. In fact, we saw a breakout to 2-month highs overnight on some positive Chinese data. On the weekly chart, we have broken above the weekly highs, and on the daily chart, we broke out today, hit 0.72, and now we are retracing at the moment as we start to get towards the later part of the day. Now, we can do this with any market. We can then start to bring out those on the left here. So I'll just show you an example. If I was to take out the pound, I could have a look at the pound, for example, here on the daily chart. I can then put it into the weekly chart. I can then put it into the monthly chart. In fact, on those time frames at the moment, the pound is looking a bit vulnerable to more downside if it was to break through support here. So you can see monthly chart, inverse hammer, weekly chart as well does look a little bit vulnerable, but it's getting supported. And on the daily at the moment, it's broken below the previous day's low, although there's a bit of a indecision candle there at the moment. We can then bring out, for example, New Zealand dollar, which broke out, well, it actually broke down yesterday, then managed to break out to the upside overnight. On the weekly chart, we'll have a look at that, and also on the monthly chart as well. We'll just wait for those updates to come through as it generates those charts. So on the weekly chart, we've broken below the weekly lows, but we are retracing quite fast. The 0.667 handle is definitely finding some support. On the monthly, we've broken below the previous month's lows, and we're starting to retrace a bit higher here at the moment. So we can go and do our top-down approach, so monthly, weekly, and daily, and that will give us a good idea of what we're looking at with respect to the overall trend on that particular market. Now, we can start building out a profile of indicators. So let's say, for example, on the New Zealand dollar, I do quite like, well, in general for the markets there, I like Bollinger Bands are quite useful. I either go with Keltner channels or Bollinger Bands, but Bollinger Bands are already available within the MetaTrader 5 platform. You'll note the midpoint often reflects around the 20-day moving average, which I like anyway as a key indicator. And we've essentially broken down overnight, hit the lower Bollinger Band, found support, and that's provided resistance to midpoint on the Bollinger Band. We're finding support at the lower end of the Bollinger right now. So that's where, at the moment, New Zealand dollar, US dollar is tending to find some support. And then what I'll do, I'll just add on one of the moving averages, which I also tend to track as well, which is the 8-day exponential moving average, which can be quite useful just to determine the short-term trend as well. We'll add that to the chart, and you can see where at the moment, whilst the price is remaining below the ATMA, overall it's still a bit bearish, although it is right at a major level of support. You can then put in supportive zones of horizontal zones of support or resistance, and very clearly you can see we're getting a bounce at the moment right at the lower end of the channel. 0.67 handle is where the New Zealand dollar is finding support right now. So again, I've just put that together on the daily chart. That can be applied to multiple time frames. So I'm going to save that, overlay that onto the April template, just do yes, and I'm going to again just go to window, tile windows, then I'm going to put those into my top-down approach, and I'm going to also overlay that so that we've got that. Actually, it's interesting on the weekly, we bounced right off the lower weekly Bollinger Band as well, and let's see how we're doing on the monthly here too. Yeah, monthly as well, bounce off that zone. So overall at the moment, New Zealand dollar, it is bearish, but it's oversold at the moment. And of course, we want to see how this continues to develop. It's down about 1% on the month so far for April, although normally April delivers about a positive 0.5% for the New Zealand dollar. We're getting some degree of support after a flush out yesterday. It's interesting because the Australian dollar, which we've got here, did break out to 2-month highs overnight. But of course, we haven't seen that follow through so far on the New Zealand dollar, US dollar. We'll have a look at trade execution very shortly. I'll just go through some of the markets which you're looking at the moment. So let's just have a look at the euro as well. The euro did actually manage to break out overnight to the upside again, hit the upper Bollinger Band on the weekly chart, had a bullish engulfing candle last week. Quite limited price action actually on the daily at the moment with the euro, well, over the week in general actually. And on the monthly though, we are building support here on the euro. You can see that quite clearly. Over this month so far, it's been a positive for the euro. Does continue to find support right at the 8-day exponential moving average. Don't know whether this is going to develop into a bear flag, which then breaks down overnight and tomorrow. Found resistance at the Bollinger. I know there's a lot of traders looking to sell into the euro on rallies here. Normally, so far this year, Thursdays do tend to be a bullish day in the market. I don't know if that will change because it is going to be Easter. So because we're moving into the Easter weekend and Friday, there will be, most markets will be closed, and therefore dynamics which normally occur on a Friday with traders potentially coming out of some positions and banking profits for the week, because Friday afternoons can be a bit strange for trading, some of the price action that you see. I don't know if we're going to get that on Thursday tomorrow due to Friday being bank holiday, majority of markets being closed, and therefore I'm not as high conviction that we'll definitely see a rally in the dollar tomorrow. But we have so far in 2019 normally seen a rally in the dollar on a Thursday. That said, we are seeing strength even today on the US dollar. Swiss franc is ramping up again here. You can see where it's broken above multiple timeframes, broken in fact above the monthly at the moment. We're almost on par with taking out the previous month's high. On the weekly chart, we've had a full-on breakout above the weekly highs and continue to see that breakout to the upside, 1.0108 now. And on the daily there, you can see we've had quite a significant breakout to the upside as well. So we're seeing a bit of dollar strength come back in to the market. Pound US dollar, where we are at right now, the pound US dollar, it does look a bit vulnerable, as I mentioned before. On the weekly there, in theory, if you take out last week's lows, we could make a revisit back to around 1.3. Monthly chart looks a bit vulnerable here as well. If we were to break down further, break below the monthly lows, the daily does look quite vulnerable as well, around 1.3033 at the moment. So that said, there is quite a lot of support at that zone as well, around 1.3. But it looks like we could make a move back towards the 1.3 handle here if we see another rollover. Just had a failed attempted breakout last week. It tried to break out above that 1.3 handle, but it just didn't follow through. Yesterday, bearish close. But it looks like the pound might be on its way lower short term here before then coming into the next level of support. US dollar CAD, you've got to be quick on the US dollar CAD. It did break down today, but it's pretty much retraced all of those gains. So unless you were relatively fast and you got out of that trade for, I think it was about 100 pips or so at the max of the move there. So what are we looking at here? No, it's about 75 pips if you're taking a trade from around about the break of the daily low. And now it's full on retracing that move at the moment. So I would keep a lookout for the price action here over the course of certainly going to next week as well. Potential if it rolls over again to look for sell opportunities on the US dollar, Canadian dollar based on the dailies there. The weekly is a bit undecided and so is the monthly. But if we were to see another rally in oil later on this month, usually you see that inverse correlation follow through on the US dollar, Canadian dollar. So with that, I'll actually see if there's any trade opportunities or trade ideas I can talk you through at the moment, so we can have a look at that together. Let's actually have a look at the New Zealand dollar. So if we look at that based on the daily chart, although it's in overall it's a bear market, well, it's not actually, to be fair, it's a range bound market, but it's within a bear trend at the moment. If we go over to some of the higher time frames here for the New Zealand dollar, we've seen it been breaking down over the last few weeks here. We've broken below the weekly lows. We're right at the lower end of the Bollinger Bands. So the trend is down, but we are of late in 2019 more in a range bound market. So if we have a look at where support is coming in, I'll just make that a little bit more clear on the chart here, and we can just have a look at where we're seeing these major levels of support come in. Okay, so we've got a major level of support which coming in around the 0.67 handle, which is where New Zealand dollar is at the moment. And then you've got the midpoint of the Bollingers, which is around 0.68. So from that support, it's about 80 pips higher. And then you have the upper end of the Bollingers, which is around 0.685. Okay. And where we're poised at the moment, we've got an inside candle there on the daily, potentially a higher low, higher close, higher high. What you'd look out for would be the potential to break above the daily highs tomorrow, or just springboard higher overnight to make a move back towards the midpoint of those Keltner channel, or of the Bollinger Bands, which is very similar to Keltner channels. Now, what I would look at here, so from an execution point of view, when you're taking a trade on MetaTrader 5 or MetaTrader 4, unlike binary.com, what you're looking at is essentially you're looking to capitalize on the amount of pips that you can make on a trade. So therefore, you could be in at $1 per pip, it could be $10 per pip, it could be 10 cents per pip. And I'll talk you through that in terms of risk management. So let's say, for example, we were to buy the New Zealand dollar now, and we had a stop loss. Let's say we had a stop loss below the daily low there. So we'd look at approximately a 55 pip stop loss. This isn't a trade we're going to take. I'll use it just as an example. And then if we were looking at the buy side here, so the profitability of that trade, we'd look around about 65 pips. I'd actually extend it all the way up to the upper Bollinger. So let's say we're looking at 130. Let's actually do that. We'll look at a 65 pip risk and 130 pip take profit. Okay, so we're going to be looking at, again, so 65 pips is going to take the price down to approximately 0.665. So let's just drag that lower. Okay, there we go. And we've got our take profit around 0.6855 just above, so we can remove that. And we would essentially be looking to get in at market. So this is a potential buy, okay, where we'd be buying at support, looking in time by the end of the month, or as we transition into May, for a move back towards the upper end of that channel. So if you do that as a new order, we would very simply go to, well, you can right click actually and do that as an order here as well. So we can just bring out a deal ticket, but I'll just go up to the top here. I'll go to new order. From here, this is where we can put all of the criteria in. So I'm looking for a buy order, and it's essentially a 2-to-1. So I'm risking 65 pips to make 130 pips, okay? So I would put in my stop loss, so I put in the details there. So I'm looking at 0.66500, that's my stop loss. And then my take profit would be 0.6855. Okay, so with that in mind, if I go for a 65 pip stop loss, if I'm in at a volume, let's say, of 0.10, okay, that would mean that this trade that I would be executing, that would essentially be at $1 per pip. So I would go for a buy at market, and that would be $1 per pip. If the trade was to hit the profit target, I would make $130. If the trade hits my stop loss, I would lose $65. Okay, then if we increase that, if I go in at one lot, that's $10 per point. If we hit the profit target on the trade, I'm going to make $1,300. If we hit the stop loss, I'm going to lose $65. And then if we wanted to even reduce it further to a micro volume, 0.01, in that instance, I would be risking $6.50 in order to make $13. So that's what we would be looking at there in terms of the different volume sizes. Now you could change that to 0.02. 20 cents per pip, you can just increase it here. So we could increase it incrementally. So 0.01, 10 cents per pip, 0.02, 20 cents, 0.03, 30 cents, and so forth. So you can adjust that, either write it in there or just click it manually. 0.10 would represent $1 per point. Then obviously if we go to 0. We increase that to 0.2, then we're looking at $2 per point. So this time, if we've got a 65-point risk and we're looking at $2 per point, $130 risk. If we're looking to make $130, that would be $260 profit. So you get the gist of that. That's how we look to take trades. I'm always going to be looking at market execution, getting in instantly. You got your take profit, your stop loss. We've worked out that's a 2-to-1, and then it just comes down to size of the account. Typically, we'd suggest you want to be looking at approximately 1 to 2% risk per trade. It does depend on the account size, how many open positions you've got running at any one time, but normally you don't want to be going much above that in terms of risk on your account. Some prefer to go tighter at 0.5% risk per trade, as in 0.5%. Others are more comfortable 1%, and others 2%. But overall, you don't really want to go much beyond that, because then if you have a number of running trades all at the same time, which are all starting to be over 2% exposure, you start to run too much and too many profits at the same time. And if they were to all to be losing at the same time, your drawdown would start to increase too much for the account. So you want to be looking at ideally anywhere between 0.5% to 2% risk of your entire trading account per trade. But that's probably for a different segment, just more on risk management. But with respect to volumes, that's how it works. So one lot equals $10 per pip. So with the 65 pip risk that we've got there, that would mean that if the trade lost, I'd lose $650. If the trade was to rally all the way up to the profit target of 130 points or pips, I would then make $1,300. I'd make double what I'm risking on that trade. So I'm sure a lot of you are very familiar with that sort of way of calculating risk, but that's essentially a deal ticket. That's where it works on MT5. It's the new order at the top there. So unlike a binary trade where you basically win if the price is higher or lower, or it depends on how you set up the trade, but with this, you make your profit according to how many pips the trade moves in your direction. And then going back to what I mentioned earlier, I have set up a profile on this now. So I can close down all of these charts, for example, and I can start afresh here. So if I just minimize that, I just close them out, and then I just take a look. Let's say something completely different here. We'll go for Australian dollar, Japanese yen, for example. Okay, let's have a look at that. Australian dollar, Japanese yen, found that, and we'll just add that on. Just drag it out to the center of the chart, wait for that to load up. And once it's loaded up, we can essentially add our profile. So now, again, got a blank canvas I'm working on here. I'm going to right click, I'll go to template. From here, I'll drop down to the template that I've created, and automatically I've got all of the levels I want. I can see we're at the upper end of the Bollinger Band, pulling back after some profit taking. Above the ATMA, so we've got an upward trend. Bollinger Band's working quite well actually on Australian dollar, Japanese yen. The price action moving between those levels quite well at the moment. But you can see how that works, and I can just drag on any additional market from the right to the left as I start to continue to go through analysis on a particular market there in order to help me to navigate what next trade opportunities to take on. So that's essentially really how I would suggest setting up charts on MetaTrader 5, keeping it nice and simple. I've just got the Bollinger Bands and also the ATMA on there. I've set up that with candlesticks. You can refer to the different timeframes at the top: monthly, weekly, daily, 4 hour, 1 hour. And often it's quite nice to actually have, if you're looking at a particular market, you're focusing on that, you can drag out a few of the different charts timeframes on the same market, and then very simply from there we'll go over and just put that into a vertical view, and then you've got monthly, you've got the weekly, and you have the daily, and we'll just navigate between those different time frames, okay, in order to do your analysis on those markets and then make for trade decisions. As I mentioned at the start of the session, if you haven't done so already, it is well worth watching the week ahead report that we put out there as well, with some of our forecasts for the markets over the course of this week. We'll be putting out a fresh report at the weekend, and don't forget, again, on Friday markets, most of them will be closed because of the Easter Friday. And then as we head into next week, we'll see fresh opportunities. So I hope that has helped you with trading on the MetaTrader 5 platform, how to set up your charts and really get going, and how to analyze the Forex markets there as well. If you would actually like to join us at the Gold and Silver Club, learn the research-driven strategies that we trade, get access to our real-time alerts via WhatsApp, you get access to all of those notifications, get access to trading research, market insights, private members academy website logins, access to support and one-to-one mentoring as well. The link to do so is www.jointhelivetradingroom.com. So that's the link that you need to click, and that's below our YouTube videos as well in order to make an application to join us at the Gold and Silver Club. So with that, I wish you all good trading. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll definitely catch you back here on the next one. I wish you all a great Easter, good trading, and all the best. Okay, guys, so thanks again. Thanks to Sharice, the team at binary.com, for putting on today's session, and we'll see you on the next one. Okay, great stuff, guys. Bye for now.